and I'm starting a cooking show or a cooking upload for teens. After doing lots of research, couldn't really find too much that had to do with teens, found lots of things to do with little kids. So what I wanted to do was start a cooking class for my one son who is interested in cooking. We're going to do a variety of dishes. There will be 20 videos in the series, and every time we'll learn a few new things, and we'll also cook a new dish. So we're going to get started. So I'm going to bring in my teen, Justin. So this is Justin. He is 13 years old, and he wants to be a chef. So the name of our channel is going to be Aspiringteenchefs. So what we're going to do today is we're going to do puffed wheat squares. A few things that we're going to learn about first, though, is we need to have a clean kitchen. So as you can see, our kitchen is very clean. We cleaned it all up. Now, of course, this is a home. This isn't a professional kitchen. And so it's not as clean as a professional kitchen. I was a caterer for 13 years, and so I've worked in a variety of kitchens. But my favorite kitchen to work in is my home kitchen. Okay, you can cut it. So we're going to move this stuff out of the way, and we're going to get started on our first recipe. Our first recipe is going to be puffed wheat squares. So one other thing that I forgot to mention is you should always read your recipe before you start. So read it so that you know what you're going to be doing, what utensils you might need, what ingredients you need, because sometimes you might even go to make something and you don't have the ingredient that you need. So it's always good before you start doing anything else to gather all of your ingredients and all of your utensils together. Make sure that your working surface is clean. Make sure that any utensils, pots, pans, bowls are clean. And that generally is a good step into making a superior product. So let's get started with our recipe, puffed wheat squares. Let me introduce or reintroduce the star of our show, Justin. Come on in.
Right.
So Justin, why don't you go ahead and read the recipe for everybody out there?
Sure. 1/3 cup butter, a half cup corn syrup, 1 cup packed brown sugar, 8 cups puffed wheat, 2 tablespoons butter, 3 tablespoons unsweetened cocoa, 1 tablespoon vanilla extracts.
So the method is, first we're going to measure our puffed wheat into a mixing bowl, and we're going to melt the 1/3 cup butter in a large saucepan. We're going to add our sugar, syrup, cocoa, and vanilla. We're going to bring that to a very low boil. Now, a low boil means not bubbling like crazy, just bubbles just starting to break the surface. And we're going to let that go for 1 minute. But we're going to stir it constantly. As soon as that minute is up, we're going to take it off the heat. We're going to add our puffed wheat into the chocolate mixture, and we're going to stir it up. Then we're going to take a tablespoon of butter, approximately, I put a tablespoon on the recipe, but that's an approximate amount. And we're going to butter our pan so that our chocolate stuff doesn't stick to the pan. Okay, then we're going to pour all of our puffed wheat mixture into the pan, and then we're going to use about 1 tablespoon of butter to coat our hands. The reason why we coat our hands with butter, Justin, is so that the mixture doesn't stick to our hands and burn it, because we have to press it down. Okay? Then we're going to let it cool for an hour. We're going to cut it into squares, and then we're going to chow down. If you can't eat the whole recipe yourself, although most people can, then you can seal it in an airtight container. That way it doesn't go stale. Okay? So butter is kind of one of those things that kind of comes almost pre-measured. In this instance, because it's a 1/3 cup butter, we have to use one of our dry measuring cups. But you'll see that on a pound of butter, it has measurements here. Basically, a whole pound of butter is 2 cups. half of a pound of butter is 1 cup. And then if you take that 1 cup, split it in half, you have a half a cup, and then you can split it down even further into a 1/4 cup. So it's really convenient for measuring butter.
So I'm going to be measuring this puffed wheat into a measuring cup. So it's going to be 8 cups into 1 bowl.
I think you need a little bit more there, Justin. A little bit more. Oh. Okay, pour that into the bowl. So that's 4 cups. That looks good. And another 4 cups, 8 cups. I'll take that from you, Justin. What's our next step, Justin?
Melt 1/3 cup butter into a large saucepan. Add sugar, syrup, cocoa, and vanilla.
Okay, so we have our large saucepan here on the oven, on the stove. We're going to find our 1/3 measuring cup, which is this one. Okay, so when we measure butter, what you need to do is you need to scoop the butter and you have to make sure it gets in there right packed. Can you do that? Maybe take a smaller piece to start with. There we go. Squish it in there. Right in there. Squish it hard. Okay, grab some more. Grab some more. Keep going until that cup is just right packed down. As packed as it'll go. There's no air in there at all. Keep going, add some more. We can always scrape off any excess. Push that down inside. Good job. Keep going. A little bit more. We can overfill it because we're going to level it. Good. So do you remember how I showed you to level with the cocoa powder? So now you do basically the same thing with your butter. Use your knife, the back edge of the knife, start closest to you, hold it over top of the butter here so it has somewhere to go, and just scrape. Okay, so our butter's a little bit hard, so sorry Justin, I'm not trying to take over. I just want to push it down a little bit more because our butter is not quite room temperature, but for this recipe it's not going to make much of a difference. We're going to want to make sure that we have a full 1/3 cup of butter. It's not being very cooperative. There we go. Just going to leave that there. I'm going to take the excess butter off of our knife. Okay. So we're going to take this over to the stove. We're going to turn on our burner and we're going to add the butter. So we're going to turn our heat on to medium because we don't want it too hot because butter melts very easily. And we're going to add our butter into the pot. Good job there, Justin. Go ahead, scrape the sides, get all that butter out. Great. So we're going to wait for this to melt, and while this is melting, we're going to get our other ingredients together. Next, we have to put our 1 cup packed brown sugar. So what we're going to do is we're going to dip our, if I can get this open, we're going to dip our cup in here into our brown sugar.
Scoop it up.
And we're going to scoop it up, yes. And we're going to squish it down as tight as we can. Again, it's okay to overfill your measuring vessel because we're going to level it. But packed brown sugar has to be packed because it's soft and it doesn't pack naturally. Leaves lots of air. So now we're just going to level it so we have exactly what we need. Now we're gonna add our brown sugar in. Go ahead, Justin, just dump it in there. Very good. Next is our corn syrup. Corn syrup can be a little bit tricky to get out of our vessel because it's very, very sticky. But we're gonna pour this into our 1/2 cup measuring cup. And pour slowly, please, Justin. And you'll notice that I am using a liquid ingredient in here. It's just because it's just a little bit more expedient. The rules for dry ingredients and liquid ingredients and how you measure them are not 100%. You can kind of use what works, but just as a general rule. So go ahead, Justin, fill up this 1/2 cup measure with corn syrup, please. It pours pretty slowly. Give it a squeeze.
Just like in the last.
We don't want to be here all day. Give it a squeeze. Good job. Nope, less of a squeeze. Let's get some air in there. And more of a squeeze until we get to 1/2 cup. Good. Excellent. Be careful not to spill this. Take it to the stove. Go ahead and pour that corn syrup in there, Justin. Use your scraper to get out all the corn syrup out of there. You can go ahead and scrape that against the side of the pan. When the pan heats up, the corn syrup will fall into the pan. Just try not to get it on the outside because it smells really bad if it burns on the burner. Good job. I think we're done with that measuring cup, so you can put that in the sink. So next we're going to measure our cocoa. I'm just going to do this just to be a little quick because I'm a little bit more used to doing it. So that's 1. We need 3 tablespoons. 1, 2, 3. And I'm going to add that into the pot. So Justin's going to measure our 1 teaspoon of vanilla. Go ahead, Justin. Hold it over the bowl so in case you spill, we don't have a giant mess. So now we're stirring it. It's already almost starting to bubble. Like I said, we want to mix up the ingredients. We also want to have it come to a low boil for 1 minute. So our mixture is now bubbling. So what we're going to do is we're going to set our timer for 1 minute. And we're going to allow it to bubble for 1 minute. We don't want to let it bubble too long because it'll turn into candy instead of a coating. So we don't want to overcook those sugars and that butter. So you see that Justin is just stirring it slowly to keep it from burning to the bottom. Justin, we could probably turn our stove down to 2. Just turn it down to a 2. There we go. Keep stirring. We've got about 20 seconds left. Okay, let's take our chocolate mixture off the burner, Justin. You can stop. So now we're going to add our puffed wheat into our mixture. So go ahead, Justin. Just do it very, no, you can leave the spoon there, it's fine. Just add it very slowly. Oh, we lost a few kernels. Let's pick those up, throw them in. But we do have to be quick about this because it's going to start setting. So go ahead and stir. So stir from the bottom and lift up. There we go. Here, can I just give it a little stir just to give you a better idea what I want? So you stir so that the chocolate sauce can go all over the puffed wheat. You're bringing up the chocolate sauce onto the puffed wheat. Why don't you go ahead and finish, Justin? Stir up or down and then over. Down and then over like a wave. all the way around the bottom, up. You have to coat all the cereal, then kind of push it down, and then up and over. Kind of push it down. Just keep doing that until you don't see really the puffed wheat's not really, whoops, not really white anymore. Whoopsie. Ouch. That's hot. That chocolate sauce gets really hot. And sugar burns really bad. So, but fortunately I have tough old calloused hands. Here, why don't you get it a little bit more stirring, Justin? Make sure that there's no chocolate sauce on the bottom. Go ahead, Justin. Do a little bit more stirring. Good job. Okay, I think that that's pretty good. Now we're going to butter our pan. So you just take your butter. I know, feels good. And you're just going to butter the pan so that none of the puffed wheat sticks to it. You can use cooking spray. I just prefer butter because it gives it a really nice taste to your puffed wheat squares. Cooking spray doesn't always give you a nice taste. Okay, Justin, why don't you grab our oven mitts? Okay, and you're going to pick up with one hand the pot and you're going to pour our puffed wheat square mixture in there. So pick it up by one handle, tip it over the pan, use your spatula to scrape that all in there. Go ahead, be aggressive. Here, do you want me to hold the other handle?
Sure.
Will that help? Sometimes having two hands is better than one, or in this case, three hands. Scrape, scrape, scrape. You gotta get all that stuff, all that chocolate in there, all that chocolate yumminess.
It smells so good.
It does. It smells awesome. Too bad you guys can't smell it. Here, I'm just gonna give you a little hand here because I have a little bit more experience. We're gonna get all that chocolate sauce out of there. We're gonna get all that puffed wheat out of there, because we don't want to throw away any of it because it smells so delicious.
Or if you can make it, you can smell it.
Yeah, if you make it, you will smell it. So now I've already got my hands buttered, so I'm just going to be the person who does this, because then that saves Justin from getting his hands all gross, full of butter. So you just basically push it down, do it in very quick movements. The butter helps your hands not stick to the puffed wheat so that the sugar doesn't burn the, you know what, out of your fingers. And we're going to press it down fairly firmly because that will help your puffed wheat actually stick together. You don't want it crumbling too much when you're eating it. A little bit of crumble isn't too bad, but you certainly don't want it rock hard, but you don't want it falling apart and dropping on the floor as you're eating it. Try and make it as even as possible. That should do it, and we'll come back in an hour and we'll taste it. So here's our puffed wheat squares. An hour has passed in camera land, and now we're ready to cut up the squares. So to get them out, all you do is you use your knife that you're going to cut with and carefully just kind of pry in to kind of loosen it a bit. You're going to flip it upside down onto your cutting surface, and then we're going to cut them. And I find the best way to cut them is to start by cutting them in half and then cutting in half or thirds. So I'm going to make the first cut just to give Justin an idea what this looks like. We're keeping it upside down. It's just a little easier. We don't have to play with it as much. So we're going to give it a good cut. There we go. Go ahead, Justin. Why don't you cut that in thirds here? Start from your front edge and work your way to your back edge. Just give it a nice pressure.
Ooh.
That's okay. Looks good. Okay, cut all the way through. cut it again. Okay, so just for expedience in our video, I'm just going to put this one aside and we're going to cut up these. So go ahead and cut this maybe into 4 pieces. Looks about good, Justin. So I'm guessing that's your piece.
Yeah.
Because it's the giant piece. The easier way to cut it is cut it in half and then cut it in half again. This is a bit crumblier than what it normally turns out to be, but that's more because we kind of sped up the cooling process. That's our cameraman, JS, who wishes to just remain behind the scenes. So here we go. Here's our yummy little puffed wheat squares, and we're going to try them. Okay. So here we have the rest of the crew. These are our official tasters, and they're all going to have a puffed wheat square and tell us what they think. So go ahead and grab one, guys. So what do you guys think?
It was good. Yeah, awesome.
Awesome.
Okay, so thanks for joining us. Again, my name is Angela. Justin, our star of our show, and this is Aspiring Teen Chefs. We're going to try and post or upload, as my son tells me, every 2 weeks. It'll be a new recipe every 2 weeks. We might find some other kinds of things to fill in the gap, like between those 2 weeks. We might do life hacks or whatever. We're still kind of brainstorming that, but we'll see you for sure in 2 weeks. Have a good couple of weeks and we'll see ya.